Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Governor OMalley.
Thank you. Let me put these up here. Thanks. Madam President. Madam President, thank you very much. Guys, you want me to put this one down? Okay, I'm going to put it on the table. And then through the miracle of electronic tie mics, I'm going to speak with you. Thanks, Betty, very, very much. Thank you for your leadership. Where'd she go? Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your partnership. These have been rough, difficult, and challenging years. And you have been such an outstanding leader of this organization in all of your roles in the past and certainly now stepping up. So thank you. But there's one choice, right? We can go forward or we can go back. And I wanted to just share with you a little bit at the outset here. I also want to thank your Vice President, Cheryl Bose, Treasurer Bill Fisher, entire MSEA Board of Directors, and to all of our educators who've taken time to be here today, thank you. I understand they were still holding people at the door waiting for the standing room, or did they have to be pre-screened? Did you have to be pre-screened to get in here? Only people that wanted to ask the tough questions were allowed in, huh? The sycophants had to go get some Dumpster's ice cream instead. Before I begin, I wanted to share with you just some thoughts to frame our conversation. And I once heard Wallace Lowe, our new president of University of Maryland College Park, paraphrase John Locke when he said that absolute power corrupts and PowerPoints corrupt absolutely. So by way of warning and presaging or previewing, I do have a little bit of data. I've tried to reduce it to just a few slides, down from the original 189 slides to a mere 36 slides, but I'm going to fly through them fast. We are coming through the worst economic downturn since the Great Depression, and no state, including Maryland, has been immune from its effects. We have not yet recovered everything we lost in the Bush recession. We have, however, recovered 75% of the jobs we lost in that recession. And the national rate is about 50% of the jobs lost. So we're doing better than we were, not as well as we need to. If we continue to move forward, we'll continue to do better. And that's what we've always chosen to do in difficult times. There is no progress without a job. And the most important investment we make in job expansion and opportunity expansion is the investment that we make together in public education, the skills, the talents, the creative capacity of our people. So we do subscribe to the same truth in math that our parents and grandparents subscribed to, which says that we must educate, we must innovate, and we must rebuild in order to create more opportunities for the next generation. I wanted to talk with you today about where we are in terms of coming out of this recession. I also wanted to share with you just a couple short slides on our budget realities, where your state operating dollar goes. Also, then I wanted to focus on, in particular, the progress you have made in improving education with the support of others in this state, including the most important people in our state, the citizens who choose to live in Maryland and believe in a better future for our state. And then I wanted to touch finally just on a couple of issues that affect the learning environment, the ability of kids to learn when they're sitting in classrooms. So let me get going here, okay? Here we go. This is where we are so far. I'm going to back up a little bit here. I'm going to move around just so you don't get bored. 25,500 jobs over the last 12 months. Our unemployment rate is 12% below the national average. We are expanding skills and opportunity. You know the Education Week ranking 4 years in a row because of your good work. Not as well advertised or recognized as the fact that because of courageous police officers and parole and probation officers and juvenile justice folks who are working together as a network rather than in silos, even in these difficult economic times, we've been able to drive violent crime down to its lowest levels in 36 years, which is a lot of moms that aren't standing by grave sites. And we've achieved our 2-year milestones in terms of cleaning up the Bay. If you want to look at the other strategic goals that we have for our state, there's only 15 of them. and they're all online, and all of the data is open so every citizen can see it. So there's a lot there on the Bay, a lot there in terms of increasing renewable energy, reducing greenhouse gases, things like that. So I'm going to focus just on a couple of the goals here as we talk today. So our priority, number one, is jobs, jobs, jobs. Without jobs, there is no progress. I wanted to go through how we are making your government work in terms of your state dollars, education funding, and the rankings that that feeds. And our goal after, and only after jobs, is improving education. So I'll bore down a little bit on that without boring you. Talk about the goals we've met, talk about those ones that we're progressing on, and also the ones where there's still some work to do. Though I have to say, notwithstanding the green, yellow, red stoplight motif, there's been progress on all of those goals thanks to your good work. And then we'll talk a little bit about STEM and the childhood hunger, bullying prevention, and Tell Maryland. This is our jobs recovery progress as of September 2012. These are the top 5 states in terms of recovering what they have lost in the recession. So as you can see, I got my little, Maryland's recovered 75% of the jobs lost during the recession. Nationally, it's about 48%. So there's Maryland, 7th actually. I guess this was updated since today's numbers came out. Our neighbors in Virginia are there at 11th. All states, I mean, and it all starts with fiscal responsibility. We have a balanced budget. We have to balance annually. We have met spending affordability guidelines for 6 years. We have a balanced approach, AAA bond rating from all 3 major bond rating agencies, one of whom is quoted here, Standard & Poor's, saying that our state has proactively responded to the recent structural imbalance, that we are strong financial and debt management policies, so on and so forth. We're one of only 8 states that still has a AAA bond rating. This is what my able staff refers to as the psychedelic dollar. That psychedelic dollar is the dollar that represents, where your state operating funds go. Not your capital dollars that we use that AAA to borrow on into the school construction, but your actual operating dollars. And as you can see from the slide, 38% of every operating dollar in our state goes to K-12 education. That's 38 cents out of every dollar. Another 10 cents is the higher education. So you put the 2 of those together, that's 48% of that dollar. Another 27% goes to healthcare or public health in some way, shape, or form. Another 11% is public safety. So that's juvenile services, corrections, parole, probation, and everything else is in that 14. Department of Agriculture, Department of Environment, Department of Natural Resources, I think even courts is in here, MVA and other things. That's the other 14%. Stated another way, 86% of every operating dollar goes to public education, public health, or public safety. This is what we've been able to do together, not only with the gaming, that's been a part of it, but a bigger part of it has been that additional penny we're all paying on the sales tax that we did about 5 years ago. 16% of us, the top earning 16%, are paying more in our income. The other 84% of us are either paying the same or less. We did increase the earned income tax credit for lower earners. We have also, this is a fun fact that never gets repeated enough, because we have the highest median income in the country, we have the 3rd lowest state and local tax burden as percentage of income. About the only endeavor we've been able to increase funding for in these tough years, and a couple of them we were only able to increase them because of President Obama's courage, is public education. So we've moved in operating funds from just barely over $4 billion in 2006, the last year of my predecessor, to $5.8 billion now. So when you see the ads run by the out-of-state West Virginia casino saying, "Don't believe your lying eyes, they haven't put any more money into education," the truth is we've put another $1.8 billion in operating funding to education. Question, was all of that from gaming? No. About 200 million of that 1.8 was from gaming. So the other was from those other revenue measures. So gaming is not a substitute for paying taxes, but it is a portion of why we've been able to do what we've been able to do. The other part of it was that we cut everything else. Eliminated 5,600 positions in state government. Some of them out of efficiencies, like closing the Maryland House of Corrections. We closed a number of hospitals, residential settings. But this is the reason the number changed, is these are the budgets I had control over, 07 to 13. So K to 12 during that shorter period of time, the last slide was from 06. That was what we increased, and part of it was by cutting everything else. I mean, most other agencies or other endeavors besides education, if they held steady, they considered that a great year. A hard candy Christmas, but a great year compared to the cuts. I think agriculture got 25%. Department of Environment, I think 20% or 25%. So anyway, let me go a little more quickly here. Your state is ranked by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, hardly a mouthpiece for the O'Malley Brown administration, as the #1 state for innovation and entrepreneurship. The Milken Institute ranks us #2 in terms of science and technology. And we're among 3 states best positioned, according to the Kauffman New Economy Index, to succeed in a changing new, increasingly more knowledge and innovation-based economy. And for the 3rd year in a row, the Chamber ranks us in the top 5 for economic performance. This is our strategic goal #2. This is what you work on every single day of your work lives: improving student achievement and school and college and career readiness in Maryland by 25% by the end of 2015. So let's go into a little more detail, shall we? These are not the only things we look at. I mean, you have to measure where you're going. You have to measure how it compares to where you've been. I don't for a second submit to you in our short time that this is an exhaustive list of everything that explains whether we're getting better. But as the one generalist in the family, there's only so many things that I can keep my eyes on. And these are the ones that I watch. So AP exams taken. We've seen, what's our benchmark here? Shana, what's the benchmark on this? I guess since 2006 when we set the goal. So these are 2015 goals. Let me go back to, can I go back? Yes. So our goal, just to refresh the generalist here, to increase student achievement by 25% by the end of 2015. So this shows you where we are in terms of reaching that goal by 2015. The one in the middle here is the goal line. So we've actually already exceeded goal when it comes to number of AP exams taken. A 49% increase thanks to your good work and those that support your work. Students taking AP exams, we've increased that by 39%. Children entering kindergarten fully ready to learn, 38%. AP exams with scores of 3 or more, 37% increase. Associate degrees awarded in our colleges, a 33% increase. Middle school math MSA proficiency. That's up 26% since just 5 years ago when we set that goal. Moving into the yellow zone here, middle school reading MSA proficiency is up 17%. STEM college graduates up 16%. Number of bachelor degrees awarded up 12%. Elementary math MSA proficiency is up, but only 12% compared to, where was that other one? The reading proficiency, which is up 17, and then elementary reading MSA proficiency is 11.8%. So there's the AP. Pretty self-explanatory slides, just kind of recapping what I shared with you. There's the AP exams. These, ladies and gentlemen, are examples of graphs that are moving in the right direction. They are the most beautiful sight in all of state government, is a graph moving in the right direction. And then there's the kindergarten fully ready to learn. This is a pretty dramatic story. I mean, look at that, going from 60% to 83% so that the kids coming in are actually ready to learn. There's the AP exams with the three or more, associate degrees, MSA. Shana, are we going to put this PowerPoint online after today? Yeah, we'll put this on the state website on the governor's page prominently. Okay, so if you want to go home and look at it, and hopefully we'll have it in a nice printout format, because boy, the colors are nice, aren't they? Good job, Shana. That's pretty impressive. What is this? And you can see you're starting to bump up. Number of bachelor's degrees awarded has increased more than 12%. That wasn't the one I wanted to look at. Sorry. MSA elementary school math. Man, nearly 90% proficient or advanced. That's pretty good. Good job. And there's the reading, 88%. Here's the STEM stuff. These are kind of fun. Between 2000 and the 2006-07 year and the most current year, number of STEM AP exams increased by 36%. In the same period, we increased the number of STEM AP exams receiving a 3 or better by 32%. This is Project Lead the Way over here, which some of you are involved in, the pre-engineering and biomedical sciences. Almost doubling in a short period of time from 5,000 to 10. Let me just touch on a few things affecting the learning environment and the ability of our kids to learn when they come into your classroom. September 2012, Arnie Duncan actually came to Maryland as part of our an announcement that we had there. I heard the hiss in the back, acknowledging on the release of our Hunger in Our Schools report, acknowledging our leadership in the nation in the fight against childhood hunger, which is actually a strategic goal, one of the 15, which is ending childhood hunger by 2015. And you know what the great news is about this? The funding's already in place to do this. I mean, provided Romney and Ryan don't cut food stamps and do the other things they propose to do, but the dollars are there to do school breakfast, just as much as we're doing school lunch. And there's actually room to increase the number of kids receiving free or reduced lunch. There's more kids eligible than are actually receiving it. So 3 out of 5 teachers say they have children in their classrooms who regularly come to school hungry. I'm just looking at the eyes to see if that rings true. 4 out of 5 of those teachers say these children come to school hungry at least once a week. A majority of teachers who see hunger as a problem believe the problem is growing. Yes. And of course, it impacts the child's ability to concentrate or to perform. And therefore, we have been pushing big time, and I need your help, pushing the school breakfast program, especially pushing breakfast in the classroom. So many kids skip breakfast if it's at the cafeteria. If you have it in the classroom, they show up on time, and they're better able to learn. And yes, it does involve, big round of applause. And I can hear the assistant principal now, oh, but we're going to have to change the way the janitors pick up the trash. Yes, that's right. You do. But they're willing to do it, especially when they know how much it improves student achievement. So during each school day last year, 48,000 more kids ate breakfast than during 2007, 2008. So that's a lot of kids, especially if you were one of those 48,000 hungry ones. So you can see the trajectory. The blue area, for those of you sitting in the back, that represents the numbers who are school lunch eligible, or actually receiving school lunch, I think. And then the red represents the breakfast. So the difference between is the delta of hunger that we still need to cross for a lot of kids. 63,000 more ate lunch than during 2007, 2008, which is also positive progress. That's a 33% increase for those of you counting along. This past summer, the summer food service also saw an increase, starting from a much smaller level. But the big room for progress that is so easy is that school breakfast. So easy. And there's actually an organization called Share Our Strength that we partner with that will help your school if you need grants or need to do something in order to implement it. So, yeah. Oh, they're here? Are you Share Our Strength? Good. What's your name? You said that very quickly. Say it again. Thank you. Thanks. Dwan, thank you. I didn't know him before now, honest. I didn't give him, but I will give you $5 after this presentation. Okay, bullying. This is Mrs. OMalley's major peeve. Bullying, notwithstanding the way she sometimes treats her husband at home. You knew that was coming. You've seen the show, huh? You've seen the show. All right, bullying. This is something relatively new, I think, for all of us. And I think maybe for too long we said, oh, that's just the way kids are. So more than 1 out of every 5 Maryland students surveyed said they'd been harassed or bullied on school property during the last 12 months of the survey. 1 out of 6 students surveyed reported being bullied electronically. Follows you home now because of the way kids stay in constant communication with each other. At least in the old days, you could get a break from it when she got home. And the effects, you know the effects, but there's people doing studies on this compared to developmental kids or developmental peers. Children who bully their peers more likely to engage in criminal activity, less likely to do well in school, and of course the victims, depression, less likely to be accepted by classmates, more likely to bring a weapon with them to school. That is, the kids being bullied, and more likely to miss school. I dare say that probably only after asthma, in the city of Baltimore anyway, bullying, especially once they get up in the middle grades, probably a leading cause of absenteeism of kids, or kids being truant. Asthma for the younger kids. And these are the trends. Now, before you're alarmed, as you can see, this on first blush looks like a graph going in the wrong direction. But as happens sometimes in police departments, when the leadership makes a commitment to do something about crime, reported crime goes up because people think you might actually do something about it now. So we don't need to beat ourselves up on the graphs going in the wrong direction, because really the benchmark is probably this most recent year because of the legislation that you all helped us pass. I believe it was legislation that required better reporting of this. Yeah, there was. 08 legislative changes. Anyway, bullying prevention initiative. The legislative changes compelled the creation of a model anti-bullying policy by MSEA that was completed in 09. Requires local school districts to present bullying prevention programming, students and staff. Permitted staff members to use standard reporting form in addition to students and parents. We also have initiatives on digital reporting, giving kids the ability to report on their phones, only once they get out of class. Out of school. Bullying information for parents and conference on prevention of bullying and harassment. This is a work in progress. This is the TELL survey that we spoke about before, and I want to thank you all for your help on that TELL survey. And I need your continued help to try to get the school superintendents to actually read it. And some read more than others. Prior surveys were conducted in 2010, 2011. The next survey is scheduled for 2013. John Ratliff, have we added support professionals? Okay. And nearly 46,000 licensed educators and support professors. There it is. If I just kept reading, I would have seen it. From across the state participated. And the findings of the survey found in most areas improved teaching and learning conditions, conditions linked to student success and teacher retention, And we still have a lot of work to do when it comes to mentoring new teachers, giving them the support they need from people that know how it's done. These are just a few examples of the places where they did read it and they are doing good things with it. Allegheny County, tailoring professional development to teacher needs. Baltimore County, the ongoing dialogue on teacher support and working conditions. Charles County Public Schools, a redesign of discipline policies and support for teacher mentoring programs. Where am I here? Is that the end of my slides? That was slide number 36. So thank you. So anyway, that's kind of the context. That's where we're going. And I really do want to thank you. I go around to, when I go to national governors meetings or other fora talking about education, I'm so proud to be able to tell the story of what all of you are accomplishing for our kids. And nothing's made me prouder of the people of our state than the good work that you've done with our kids in the classroom. So keep up the good work. And as I say that, I know we still have a lot of work to do. So let's open it up here to a little dialogue. Ask the governor, tell the governor. We'll do Q&A. Is there a form? Do you want everybody to come to, there's only that mic? Okay. All right, there's that mic there. People are lining up. I'm a guest here. I don't run the program. And some of you have questions. Some of you might have answers. If you should have answers, I'd like you to go to the front of the line. And when you begin, if you could just say who you are, what you do, and where you're from. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Tawana Lane. I represent Prince George's County, and I'm currently a high school English teacher. I would like to say at the start of this question, before I ask my question, at the start of your year, in this very place, I came up to you personally, and I said, please don't forget the teachers. And you said, I won't. And I'd like to say thank you for remembering us.
Hey, thank you.
So now here's my question. You have a great reputation as an education governor for many reasons, including your commitment in the budgeting process to see through the full implementation of Thornton funding, recommendations, and money. In the last several years, with the help of federal aid, you have also included funding for the GCEI bill, the Geographic Cost of Education Index. It looks like the economy is coming back, and as such, are you able to promise us today that per pupil funding formulas and full funding of GCEI will be part of your fiscal year 14 budget?
Can I promise you that? You know, I haven't failed. We have a gap to close of about 50 to 100 million for next year. And while that's a lot, it's less, far less, than any gap we've had to close before. So if we were able to fund those things in past years, we should be able to fund them in the upcoming years. All of this depends on our economy continuing to chug forward, and so I sure as heck hope so, because I wouldn't want to disappoint you. All right, thank you.
Hi, I'm Abby Baton. I am the president of the Teachers Association in Baltimore County. Yes. And I do wear purple and black, not like my predecessor. Yeah, over there. I need your help in clarifying your position on vouchers. In 2006 and 2010, you issued strong support for MSEA's position against BOST tax credits and other voucher schemes. Yet, in the last few years, proponents of the tax credits have used a letter from you supporting BOST to bolster their claims. As head of the DGA, and you probably know that it is the Republican governors who typically lead on these schemes that use public money to support private schools. Can you clear up any ambiguity on your position and promise to no longer offer your support for vouchers, BOST, and any other voucher-like proposals, not only in the legislative process, but also in the budgeting process for the remainder of your term?
Yeah, you know, no candidate ever hits 100%. No candidate ever hits 100%. I am still opposed to vouchers. The BOST bill such as it was proposed, that I did support. You know, when I was in Baltimore City, there were a whole lot of kids that went to Catholic schools in Baltimore City. And a lot of their parents were from very humble means. And that I think, was it $5 million in tax credits for businesses that were to give? It was actually Ed Rendell, a Democratic governor in Pennsylvania, that did it in Pennsylvania. But I understand the call of your question. Look, I think I did support that and continue to, but that $5 million pales in comparison to the $5.8 billion that we put into public education. I understand as an organization that you're opposed to anything.
Can I just clarify
Sure.
further then? I think that part of our concern is, yes, it's $5 million to start. I don't necessarily think that it's going to stop there, and that's what we have seen before. And I think that that is our real concern, especially when so many of our schools, the public schools, are going without. We don't have enough of the things that we need, and if we start watering it down even $5 million, we could use that $5 million in Baltimore County just to fix up one little piece of one school that we don't have in place now. It's a real concern.
I hear you. I hear you. $2 billion is what we've done, a record amount in school construction. That was slide number 37 that I took out of the slide presentation. We've done more in these 6 years in school construction than any administration, and we've done it in the toughest of times. So I certainly understand where you're coming from, and I think the presiding officers do as well. And I don't think that well, how can I say this? So anyway, y'all are very effective in Annapolis.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Governor O'Malley. I'm Paul Limley. I'm a social studies teacher and local president in Howard.
Hi,
and
Paul.
I brought an answer.
Awesome, an answer.
I think I'll submit that part of the answer is to reduce the emphasis on standardized testing. And so the question is, I've got 1,000 signatures with me from the teachers in Howard County.
This is fun. This is just like being mayor again.
And what we asked our Board of Education to do is walk away from Race to the Top. We did this on Thursday night. And I know that gives people heartburn, and there is real money involved, but the bigger issue is about creative and innovative teaching. Right. And link it to a standardized test, which would never have shown us who Shakespeare was or given me any meaningful help in helping a student like you become more civically engaged. A test doesn't tell us that. There are multiple choice, you know that. Will you help us get away from that misguided emphasis and don't let it be linked to evaluations where I'm here to tell you we will make bad choices about. We will make less creative, less informed decisions with that bad data.
Let me respond a little bit. I mean, I hear you and I understand the need for us to not only educate kids who can memorize, but who can think conceptually. I think if you look at any one measure, and even the 7 that I put up there, I'm sure many of you were saying, well, you should look at that goal and look at the others as well. I think that what I can commit to do is to work with you to improve how we do, and what we measure. I can't work with you to do away with standardized testing, but I can work with you to create a more complete picture of what effective learning and educating means in these modern times. I know we're still working through some of the aspects of you know, the race to the top and waiver and acceptance and all of those things. And John Ratliff has been having lots of conversations with your leadership about it. I'd be glad to receive your petition signatures and to consider any suggestions you have you're not proposing doing away totally with standardized testing, are you?
What I said was reduce the emphasis, and it's the link to evaluations that kills the creativity and intuition that we have. I'll be very brief because there's a lot of good questions here, I'm sure, but I was a government teacher and a law teacher at the same time. There's a test in government, there's not a test in law. I had like 2 days to do the First Amendment in government before I have to move on. I had 6 weeks or 8 weeks for my students to come up with a creative way to legally restrict what the Westboro Baptist Church does in my law class. They loved it. That was a path we could follow because we didn't have to move on.
You want to give me your papers? No one's going to jump you.
These are my originals. It was you. These are my originals. Can I show them to you and give you a copy?
That one knocked the earwax, didn't it?
Hi, Governor. My name's Ryan Berbee. I'm president of the Harford County Education Association. I wanted to first thank you for coming. I've been a big supporter of yours since I lived in East Baltimore and you first ran for mayor.
Thank you, Ryan.
I do appreciate everything you've done for education over the years. In Harford County, we especially appreciate the Public School Labor Relations Board legislation and the enactment of that body because it has helped us to protect our rights and to stop some unfair labor practices and bargaining practices that were going on.
Oh, good. You never hear back after these things pass. Yeah.
Unfortunately, that labor board is set to sunset. And so what I'm here to ask you is, can we count on you to support legislation which permanently extends that board as an entity?
Yes. There we go. Yes. Well, I got one I could say yes to. Well, I think they should recruit Ryan for the government affairs position someplace where they teach you always ask the public servants for things they can say yes to.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, Governor OMalley. I'm Robert Morrow. I'm a 6th grade science teacher from Anne Arundel County. Kind of a, thank you, general question here. There's kind of a pension paradigm shift going on as the requests are going from the state level to more of the county level. So with partial pension responsibilities falling to the counties over the next 4 years, is it realistic to expect maintenance of effort for county school budgets? So how can our counties absorb expenses that are passed on to them by the state? What can we do about this?
One way, education's a shared responsibility. I showed you what we've done on the increasing dollars. There are some counties, not many, there are some counties who in the face of the recession actually found themselves, actually were cutting property taxes and cutting schools and then asking us why they weren't getting more money from the state to make up for the bad decisions they were making at the local level. So this was a thorny one, and we had to go round and round with this, with the primary goal being, how do we defend the defined benefit pension system? And we were able to forge the consensus pretty quickly for defending that system. And then the question became, how do we do this? How do we keep the counties from backing out of their responsibility or shifting their responsibility from salaries to benefits since they're not paying the benefits? And I don't know if we've gotten the balance right. I think only time will tell, and if it's not right, maybe we go back and we adjust it. But what most of the legislature came to conclude was that we had the balance wrong in that it was leading to the unintended consequences of giving some counties cover for acting in a fiscally irresponsible way at the local level or in a less than responsible less than sustainable way when it came to, negotiating benefits and salary. So, there are no perfect solutions. I think this is a better balance than it was. And we did phase it in over a couple few years. I forget the details of how we offset it in the early years. And that was purposeful because we knew with the housing bubble bursting and with many homes values going underwater, the assessments going down and all of that, that the counties were taking a hit on that level. So they will be phasing in as the economy is coming back. And on the good news front, don't tell Franchot this, but we have had 8 months in a row of rising median home values, in other words, rising sales values. And that's the first time that's happened since, the crash at the end of 2007.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Governor, my name is Jane Stern. I'm a veteran teacher from Montgomery County, currently a substitute teacher in Montgomery County, and a past president of the Maryland State Education Association. And my question is related to the issue of taxes and education expenditures. You cited a statistic which I'm sure goes over very well in other audiences when you said that Maryland carries the second lowest tax burden.
Third,
The third
as
lowest
percentage,
tax burden
as percentage of
as
income.
a percentage of income. Now, there's in some places, I'm sure that's a welcome statistic, but I don't think it's so welcome in this room because that rating is based upon our having a pension system for new teachers, which is cut way down to the bone, and which is essentially one in which the participant contributes 80% of the cost, in which the state contributes only 20% of the cost. So that statistic, third lowest tax burden, was achieved by cutting pensions in this state, even to a worse position than the infamous Pension Reform Act of 1979 did so many years ago. And my question to you is, how are you going to help us to improve that newest pension system, which is the worst one we've ever had in Maryland? Because I am concerned that the pension system we now have for new entering teachers will not get us the best teachers to keep Maryland #1 in education. And Governor, that should be your concern as well.
Jane, thank you for your question and thank you for your passion. And as I said, when we had to make a lot of these tough decisions, in better times, we will revisit these decisions. I wasn't happy. There were many things that I wasn't happy about having to do as the person that had to make the choices and do the balancing. But go ahead, Jane.
Isn't it possible that if you had extended the millionaire's tax, that you wouldn't have had to cut the pensions quite so harshly as was done?
No, I don't think it would have worked that way.
Well, you know, if it's the people who are the wealthiest people who do not have to pay that additional tax, which they could well afford, I mean, if that's the case, then that's what's driving that third lowest tax burden statistic. And you're saying that you're not going to consider increasing, going back to that millionaire's tax?
Jane, I actually did raise income taxes on millionaires and people making more than $250,000. I did that as part of the 2007 special session, and I still have the scars and tattoos to prove it. I also raised the corporate income tax, also raised the sales tax, and also passed that first gaming referendum, which has led to an additional $200 million in its most recent year, or cumulatively so far, 189 I think is the number, for education. So look, there are no, in better times, we can revisit those longer term liabilities and costs that go into a pension system, including the rate of return of the investments. I mean, you know this stuff inside and out. I had to make decisions in the worst of times. There will be other governors that are able to make those decisions and adjustments in better times. And fortunately, because of the decisions we've made, they'll do so with a defined benefit pension system rather than one that was eliminated or offloaded into the private market.
Thank you, Governor.
Thank you, and thank you for your leadership.
Good afternoon, Governor OMalley. My name is Mary Lou Coughlan. I'm a teacher in Wicomico County. I'm also Vice President of WCEA. I mentioned that I've been in Wicomico County and I've been teaching there for 30 years. I can remember when I graduated from high school and my mother told me she would send me to college anywhere in the world I wanted to go as long as I didn't become a teacher. She said that. My mother herself taught for 46 years, 42 of those in Wicomico County. And she knew how difficult it was even back then to be a teacher and to have some kind of a life outside of teaching. You spoke of Jane Stern's dedication and her passion, and I think everyone in this room and all the educators around the state of Maryland feel that same passion, and that's what drives us to do what we do. One of the things I'd like to mention is that what we are told constantly is that reaching out to our students, to getting to know them on a more personal level, to having that interaction, getting to know their families, their personal situations, being able to address those things that are not measured in a test and cannot be addressed in the regular classroom setting are the things that make the most difference. I've been doing that for 30 years, and unfortunately now I have students that I think are the same age I am from when I first started teaching, that all of a sudden they're old.
What do you teach?
I teach English, and I have
what year?
I teach 12th grade English this year. I taught 9th grade English for 23 years. I've taught 10th and 11th grade English as well.
Wow.
And
what do you get to teach when you teach 12th grade English?
12th grade English is wonderful because we don't have any state tests in 12th grade English right now. And quite honestly, sir, the main reason that I stopped teaching 9th grade English was because of the testing program. I felt that it was taking away my ability to reach my students. When I have students from 25 years ago who come up to me and tell me that they remember what we did with Shakespeare 25 years ago, I have kids that stop me on the street and are reciting the lines that they learned 25 years ago. It's fabulous, but guess what? It has nothing to do with the kinds of tests that we're required to give, and it takes away from my opportunity to do that. My question is this.
Is there a 9th grade standardized?
It's 10th grade. Well,
but you had to prepare for it in 9th. I see.
And as I said, that's
Is that the last standard? Is 10th the last? Last for English. Okay.
Right.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
Of course, with the Park assessment, it's going to have an impact on all of us. And as I said, it is my 30th year, which offers me some hope, but not that to my colleagues who don't have as much time in as I do. I don't have any plans of retiring as long as I can continue to do what I love to do, which is to actually teach and interact with my students. Here's my question. Why do you believe that the federal government is better qualified than state and local governments and associations to make decisions and implement programs having to do with education?
I don't believe that they are better than all states.
Are they better than our state?
I wouldn't say that they're I wouldn't say that they're better than our state, which is why I think they've been willing to work with us on the waiver and finding other ways forward that meet the bottom line. But look, I mean, I have other slides I could show you of graphs that are moving in the wrong direction, and it's all in relation to how American kids are doing in school compared to every other peer group in every other industrial nation in the world. I can compare it. Everybody else compares it. And if you look at what our kids are, if you look at how our kids are stacking up to kids in other countries, I think it's irresponsible for our federal government to stick its head in the sand and pretend like somehow one of the 50 of us is going to hit on the right alchemy and the other governors are going to embrace it. Have you met some of these other governors? So the federal government needs to enforce some standards, and hopefully in the flexibility that federalism gives us, the states that want to, move ahead on the, I hesitate even to say bell curve because it's a test referring metaphor, but I think states that want to, dare I say, race ahead. States that want to go further should have the flexibility to do that, but I do think that the federal government needs to have some national standards for what should be expected from high school graduates on their graduation. And if you don't want to believe the other benchmark comparisons to other nations, ask Britt Kerwin or anybody that teaches in college and talk to them about the amount of remediation they have to do for kids when they're entering from even our high schools, So look, I don't pretend that we've gotten it totally right. I myself am a frustrated, though aspiring artist, and I believe we can do a better job of the humanities and conceptual thinking, and I'm committed to helping us figure this out and finding a better way forward. But I do believe the federal government has some role to play in setting standards.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for teaching kids Shakespeare in such a way they remember it 25 years later.
This town hall is scheduled to end in about 3 minutes.
Oh my goodness.
I know there are lots of questions people have for the governor, and perhaps if you can email them to us, we can try to get some answers later on.
Or we could do rapid fire, like they do at the end of the, who's those guys that yell at each other on Sunday? The McLaughlin group.
Yeah. So maybe one more quick question.
We'll do a quick one, rapid fire.
It will be fast.
Okay, rapid fire.
My name is Kelly Stevenson. I am a special education teacher at James M. Bennett High School. And I am also the president of the Wycomico County Education Association. Will you stand with local associations and local boards of education who have been working tirelessly for the past year and almost a year and a half now to guarantee that we do truly have the flexibility in developing our student growth model? Dr. Lowerly now wants 20% MSEA scores to be a part of a teacher's evaluation. This kind of defeats everything and all the hard work that all of the locals have been doing over the past year and a half. So I'm asking for your support in allowing the locals who have already submitted their plans to stay with their plans.
Yeah, I know it's a very contentious issue. We'll continue to work through it. And I understand that there's still issues that we have to work on. Rapid fire. Well, we're going to try to get through in the remaining 2 minutes.
You said that you wanted to have the answer first. Okay, the answer is yes. I was inspired by your presentation. Can you somehow get onto the Patel survey, something like if the teachers are being bullied by the principals? Yeah. And just to further, it's not my principal, but I sit on the board of directors of TABCO, and I hear about all kinds of principals bullying.
Okay. Bullying on the TEL survey. Yes, ma'am.
I am Matilde Vallejos, a pupil personnel worker from Montgomery County Public Schools, and I work with hungry children. And my question is about question 7. Is the school funding earmark that they say it is going to supplant or supplement the state funding?
The school funding is in the law that the dollars have to go to school funding. So far, $189 million additional dollars from gaming, just on what's been ramped up so far, is coming to education. As I tried to show on the chart, 48% of every general fund dollar goes to education. The law specifically requires that these dollars that come from the gaming operations go to the Education Trust Fund and go to education. So, and our history has been that 1.8 million more has gone even as we've cut everything else. So yes, the dollars will go to education.
My colleagues are confused because they think that those dollars that are going to the trust funds are going to be subtracted from the state funding.
It doesn't work that way. I mean, look, there's a formula that's a per capita formula for full funding. There is also GCEI. And yes, we are forecasting that the gaming dollars will go to education in order to allow us to continue to hit what is an ever-rising, Jane, GCEI number, which Montgomery County never had before, which they have now, as well as the other per capita things. So it's all going to education. Look, on this question 7 thing, here's the deal. $550 million from Maryland leaves our state every year to go gamble in Charleston, where Penn, the guys that are spending $40 million to say we're not increasing funding for education and to call me a liar. They're spending the money on these ads because they want $550 million in Maryland dollars to keep going to Maryland. So we can be for question 7 for keeping those dollars in Maryland and some additional dollars for Maryland. Or we can buy Penn's hooey and wave the dollars goodbye and let them keep going to West Virginia. Gaming is not how we meet a $5.8 billion annual investment in education, but it is a part of it. So far, it's been $189 million of it. In out years, when it ramps up, if we approve 7, there'll be another $200 million on top of what the current 5 locations without table games would have given us. And so it's the biggest cost we have. K-12 is 38% of our education budget. And the better people to ask that question of, sometimes they say, well, can you guarantee that in 10 years from now? No, I can't guarantee anything from 10 years from now. What I can tell you, though, is that we have increased education funding. It is in the law. The dollars will go to education. We have to continue to elect representatives in the legislature and also in the office of governor who make education funding their top priority. I mean, there's no way around that. You can't legislate against stupidity in setting public priorities. So you've seen what other states have done when the Tea Party comes in and takes over the legislature, and then they take over the governor's office, and then you have people saying we need less education, not more. So this question 7 doesn't make us immune from mistakes in democracy, but the dollars are required by law to go to education and will continue to go to education. And I can guarantee that for the remaining 2 years of my term.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Governor OMalley, my name is Jeff Farr. I'm from Washington County. I'm part of the MSEA diversity program. I'm a Republican that voted for you.
God bless you.
All right.
The angels cheer when one is saved.
Well, I just voted for you, man. That's all. But when I go back to proselyte my equally misguided brethren, I'm following up on Howard County's question. Can you explain to me what is the student-centered rationale behind a high-stakes test that we have not seen coming online the same year that 50% of my evaluation is based on a system we have not yet created, and all of which is funded by my kids' savings?
We're working on that one.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Elizabeth Ray. I'm currently a special educator at Aberdeen Middle School located in Harford County, Maryland.
Is that the new one?
No, sir.
The high school's the new one?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I currently just got finished working on the Governor's Task Force for School Safety. We just spent the last year re-looking at the creation of that. We spent a lot of time into it. And as a teacher who took out that time from the classroom, which impacted my students' learning, I would like to know if you plan for that to be a budget line item. It is something that we found to be that was sorely needed in the state of Maryland.
And that would be a budget line item for?
The creation of a school for public safety, school safety. We just got finished studying that for the last year.
Creation for school, are you familiar with this, John? This gentleman helps me, John Ratliff, if you would raise your hand. If you two could get together immediately after this and help me follow up, John, so I better understand this.
Yes, I was wondering that with the figures that you had showed with bullying, we saw that it is very much a needed area. We went to Pennsylvania. We know that there's one in Kentucky. There's also one in Ohio. With Maryland being #1 in education for the last 4 years, we feel that it could greatly impact education as it stands now.
Okay, we'll look at it. We steal good ideas from wherever we can find them. Rapid fire.
I'd like to follow up on your remarks this morning dealing with the expansion of gaming in Maryland.
Yes, sir.
I'm not opposed to gambling, and I'm not opposed to free money, if there is such a thing. But I'm concerned that despite your assurance to us that gaming money does not replace tax money, that there is a real perception, certainly among the public, and I suspect in the General Assembly, that this is an easy way to ease the tax effort and that we don't need to dedicate as much tax money to education as we once did or as we anticipated, because we have all this free money that's coming in from gaming. Can you reassure me?
Yeah, I don't find that sentiment among your legislators. In fact, the veteran ones there, I think, greatly regret the fact that they cut the income tax back when nobody was clamoring for it in, when was that? 2000 and, I think it was 2001. I don't think anybody looks at this as a way of, great, if these dollars come in, then we can cut taxes. They do look at it as, if these dollars don't come in, then we have to cut education and other things. So that's more the reality, and at least among the members of the General Assembly. I think most of them understand that we got greatly...
Was a bit of a disappointment.
Pardon?
The rollout of slots was a bit of a disappointment.
Yeah, it was. We rolled it out at the...
As predictor of the future.
Yeah, look, I can't change the cynicism that all of us feel for many different reasons about many things. We went out to bid on that initial, on the 5 locations, at the same time that the entire financial markets of the nation collapsed. At the time that we went out to bid, according to the statute, finance a casino, you couldn't finance a car. I mean, nobody was lending money on anything, and it has taken longer because we were trying to do it in the middle of the recession. It was much harder. And some of the people we thought would bid, so that, I mean, I would have preferred they all be at racetracks. But, that's not the consensus and the compromise that came out. And then some people who we thought would bid didn't bid. So, yeah, it's been hard. It's been hard. And even as we were getting our things up, the surrounding states started adding table games and the other stuff to take more of our people out. Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Governor. My name is Deona Ricks, and I'm an ESOL teacher in Montgomery County. My question is about one of your slides, and it spoke to kindergarten readiness, and I'd like to know what data points you used to determine that Maryland has a very high percentage of students who are ready for kindergarten. I see that as a major impact on the success of our students, and I'd like to know what data you used to come up with that information.
Yeah, I was trying to pull on the, is this still on? It cut off? Oh, well. You can find all of these things online. We're going to put the whole presentation. There's sites under it. I think you can also find it on the MSDE website as well, as we look at the readiness thing. The goals you can all get into, and you can click on, if you go onto the state's main page, you'll see the big first window says goals, and you just go and click on the schools one, and that'll take you into that. And that will give you the backup data for that. Yes, ma'am. Rapid fire. We're doing well here.
I will.
Only 2 more, 3 more.
Melissa Walters, Kent County Teachers Association President and high school teacher. Kent County is at a slight disadvantage in the equation for school funding. We have almost 50% of our kids on free or reduced meals, yet our county looks great on paper. Our county commissioners have publicly stated that they will not give 1 penny over maintenance of effort. What would your response be to those officials, and is there anything in the works to fix the state funding equation for smaller counties?
I would vote Democratic in your next...
If only it were that easy sometimes.
I know. Oh, it's maddening. It's maddening. When money goes in and then they cut it at the local level. Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon. I'm going to talk really
That's
fast.
why we did the MOE, though. I mean, that is why we did the maintenance of
me
effort.
that I had to speak fast, otherwise she was going to kind of push me out the way. I am Amarilis Pimentel. I work at Harford County, teach elementary school. I'm also the vice president of our local union. My quick question, will you support agency fee legislation?
You know, I think I have answered affirmatively to that in the past. I know I supported it with AFSCME. I have spoken with your board about it. I know that it already exists in Baltimore County, Baltimore City, Prince George's County, Anne Arundel County, Charles County, Allegheny, Montgomery, Howard. And so, yes, I have already answered on questionnaires that I am in favor of that.
Thank you.
Sure.
Good afternoon, Governor. I drive a school bus, so I'm not an educator, so I have a couple questions. One ugly thing that we didn't see on your data is how many homeless children we have. I'm a little nervous, sorry.
Don't be nervous. It's okay. I mean, it's not okay that they're homeless children, but you're doing fine.
I am very compassionate, but I am a taxpayer in this state. And when I see in my county, and I don't know if it's a county or state level, a full-size bus carrying one student, we got a problem. And I don't know if you have a committee with school buses in, but if not, I'd love to join and be a part of it because we have a lot of waste out there.
Yeah, this is a great question, and it goes to another hill we need to take in this journey of progress. We had some conversations about performance measurement and measuring teachers' performance. We need to do a better job of measuring the performance of administrators and the finance people.
Yes.
And I'll tell you, if you could, in some jurisdictions they do a better job than others. In Montgomery County, the school stat system and some of the internal controls that Dr. Weiss put in places, and yes, I love Jerry Weiss, and he would also sometimes drive me crazy, but they do have, in that county, some better internal controls in place and performance measurement. I don't know how anybody runs a big organization like a big school system or a state government without having performance measures and without being, and yet that's how we run the education mission sometimes, and it's maddening when you yourselves can see places where dollars aren't being spent as well as they might, and at the same time, you can't rub two dimes together for school supplies or art supplies in your class.
I can't even get bus supplies on my bus at this time. Plus, they need to talk to us more. We are the more knowledgeable people of what's going on out there, and they refuse to ask us to participate. That's why I'm asking you to start a committee.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, look, I've got to run to Salisbury, so I'm gonna hightail it out of here, but I really do appreciate your good work. Thank you.